Welcome back, people. Lateness is greatness as per usual. It's only 5 minutes over and I only delayed it 15 minutes after you queued up for 2 minutes till the actual time. So I'm not trying to take the piss, but I'm not going to lie, I just got out of bed. I'm not really in the mood, but it is all you can eat Chelsea. And regardless of the results or the situation, we have to be in the mood to talk about Chelsea. It's not a part-time thing. Whether we're winning or we're losing, we have to speak. But before I get into that, I have to roll the intro, people. I think you might like it. 1 second. There we go. All you can eat Chelsea is back. And people, if you want to know who made that intro, it is my man Bruce. He's not playing any games. I'm not playing any games. We are not playing any games. Link is in description. Make sure you follow him on Twitter as well. And make sure if you need any artwork, you know exactly where to go. I'm joined by the usual casting crew, the man them from South London and Australia, from Tooting, and the man them in Streatham all the way to where are you living in Australia?
Sydney, bro, Sydney,
people. I see. I was gonna say Sydney, but I didn't want to come across as this like basic English guy who just knows the only place in Australia.
Imagine comparing Streatham and Tooting to Sydney. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you know what? I could have just said London. I felt like I really need to zone in on a
yeah, London you can compare, but the other two, I don't even know where they are.
They're in London, but it's just the levels are different.
Oh, it's strikingly different. You have Sydney.
Until you can see the harbour from your area, you do not compare. I can see the harbour.
Yeah, no, I can see the South Circular.
Yeah. Big up the man in the chat. 100 of you are waiting. I feel like the more we do this show, you know what time it's meant to start. Put it like that, and you seem to flock quicker. So again, I feel like there's a lot to talk about. But Younes, first of all, welcome, my bro. How are you? How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm surviving now, innit? We're just it is what it is at this point. But personally, you can't let Chelsea get to you. If not, we'd all be depressed, like seriously depressed. So I'm going on about things and just riding the wave, not getting too emotionally attached. You know what I mean?
That's it. And Miz, how are you, my brother? How are you?
Yeah, similar to probably Younes, not emotionally attached, but at the same time, I'm getting as much as I can from both perspective. And it's been fun. It's been good. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, how can it be fun?" But you just need to, when you enjoy, following a football club, you want to see all different perspective and, how the way people are thinking. It is quite fun the way people think.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, I'm gonna get to the big topics. I'm just gonna do that. Chelsea been stinking out the place recently, so just get some better smell in here, because it's mad stinky. The chat, how are you people doing, man? You know what I mean? We got Hajir in here, Josephine. I'm just going through Luke. If I miss your name, it's literally I'm just picking them out of a hat right now. Extreme HD, I Test Merchant. I'm sure I can just say it. Ralph. Do you know what I mean?
We got 232.
They want serious discussions. I've got a little bit more energy. I'm not as depressed. I'm not gonna lie. I woke up and I just thought to myself, shit, we are in a dire situation. The title is very clear, people. Have the board made the right decision? Because from what I gather and what it really does conflict with what I expected. I was expecting, no joke, I expected him to be relieved of his duties. I like to say that instead of sacked. I don't like the word sacked. So I say relieved of his responsibilities because it sounds nicer. And I like Frank a lot. I love Frank. Actually, he's up there as per usual. Not going to come down, but I expected him to be relieved of his duties yesterday. So what we doing? Because it seems like we're just, I don't know, either we're pushing the inevitable, which is one side of it, because we've already heard of them saying, we're taking a look at another manager. We're talking about German speaking and more experience. So they're already looking. So are we just delaying the inevitable? Is there background stuff going on in terms of contract negotiation? I don't know. It sounds disrespectful to say, but when a Athletic report drops, when what happened after Leicester happens in terms of, reports and the board are furious and etc. Yeah. You have to think that even though he's still in charge, they are doing things behind the scenes and they're looking at, they must be, right? Or are they actually just giving him a couple more games? We've got Luton. I don't count that. For me, that's a friendly game. If we don't beat Luton, then I don't have to say anything. In fact, I'm going to come on this stream. If we don't beat Luton, I'm going to come on this stream and I'm just probably going to play the guitar or something. I don't even know how to play the guitar. But that will match Chelsea's performances. I'll play the guitar badly and then you can listen to me play, and you can watch Chelsea play badly. Oh, there we go. Look.
We'll play together. We'll play together.
So I'm guessing they're giving him Burnley and Wolves is the other side of it. They're giving him a chance to turn it around. Before we get into that, boys, what are you eating today? Just got a pair.
Kit Kat Fences.
Sprite, man. I've had my dinner quite a while back, so spriting it up.
At some point, we'll actually have to have a full-on meal. I'm talking like full English.
Full English. Get it all out.
Younes, to start with you, what do you think about what I said? What do you think is more likely? Because it's very confusing right now.
It's inevitable now, man. It's look. Let's not pretend this is the first time we're in this situation. We know how this ends. Like we've been here before. But when we started the video, I was about to say, so guys, we're back in this situation again. It's been a while. But that's just how it is. I genuinely think Chelsea are looking at other options. I can understand why they haven't, pulled the trigger just yet, especially if you don't have anyone else lined up. You can't sack someone without having someone ready. That's just foolish. And to get it done 24 hours immediately after losing 2-0 to Leicester, that would have meant that talking had been done prior to the Leicester game with other gaffers. So I genuinely think the 3 games that we're hearing about now is just to try and get something done with another manager, whether it's a permanent or an interim. Because let's have it right. Personally, I don't think things are going to change. I don't see it changing. The body language, the way we're conducting things, nothing's changing. It seems to be the same thing. And even though the Luton game is going to be a win, as you said, if it's not a win, I will be baffled beyond belief. At that point, if Lamp should just walk just by himself if we don't beat Luton. But the Wolves game, the Burnley game, they're not easy, but they're winnable. If there's any game on the calendar that we have coming up that you look to get 3 points, it's those 2. So if we end up struggling against those 2, which I think it's going to be difficult, I think we're going to make it hard for ourselves, then the inevitable is going to happen. When you start hearing about it's a matter of when, not if, the club's talking to other managers, body language is low, players aren't responding, it only ends one way. So I honestly think it's just Chelsea trying to get something done elsewhere. And then when they've got something secure, they'll release the statement.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying Tuchel's available, but what they don't understand is, first of all, Tuchel doesn't seem to be the first choice with the Chelsea board. Yeah. Second of all, you've still got to negotiate the terms, the conditions of the contract, because it seems like Chelsea's first choice is Nagelsmann. However, would you be able to get him in the summer, or does he need more time to develop at Leipzig? That's up for question. Does he even want to come to Chelsea? That's up for question. So it's very difficult to then say, right, do we go for an interim, which I've seen us linked to, or do we go for a full-term coach in terms of Tuchel? And then again, it's about the player's mindset. If you go for an interim, the players know it's an interim, and then does that definitely pick up their levels, or do they know that he's leaving in a couple of months? Like, where does the motivation lie? If you bring in a full-time coach, and really I'm just battling against my own head because I kind of want an interim if we are going to go down that route. But I'm not sure, because again, it's if you go with a full-time coach, the players know that's the guy that you have to impress, and he's staying here past the summer regardless, and that means you need to sort your shit out. It's an interesting one. I'm going to get to Miz's thoughts on it very soon. I'm just going to get this super chat read so I can move it. So Miz's face is not just like this. A lot of players are soft, bullied, no aggression, lack of substance. Why did we sign left-wing attackers? Why not a DM on board too? Players checked mentally. It's an interesting one because a lot of people have complained about the signings, and we will definitely get onto it. A new manager will struggle with these players too. So I Test Merchant really speaking on that one. I mean, Miz, what are your thoughts on the situation in terms of the board's decision? And then we'll get straight onto I Test Merchant's questions there as well.
Honestly, let's take away the emotions for a second, because a lot of people might start thinking, oh, these guys are just a bunch of, Lampard outs. They just want Lampard out. No, let's just think objectively for a second. If you look at our performance from when it started being poor, you look at the Everton one, I thought that was just an anomaly, right?
Yeah.
You look at the Wolves one, I just thought that may be just a bit of complacency. It's the Arsenal one that broke the back. It's the Arsenal one that shattered the whole thing. And honestly, that the Roman of yesterday's would have sacked the manager off the back of that Arsenal loss, because that was really pathetic. But it's Frank Lampard. We've all talked about sentiment and whatnot. At the end of the day, he's a club legend. He was given time to change things around, because it was just so bad that perhaps that too was an anomaly. But looking back now, since that loss against Arsenal, we have not looked good. We're a shadow of a side that started this season, or even that 17-match unbeaten, whatever you want to say. At least in that unbeaten run, we looked somewhat decent. But since that Arsenal match, we have not lost. Our pressing is no longer there. Players are not giving their 100%. We are predominantly going towards wide areas. We do not have any other plan. Frank, after being 3-0 down against Man City, after being 2-0 down against Leicester, comes up in the second half with no changes. I think it's got to a point, guys, as I'm being serious, objectively, no emotions attached. It's not going to get better. There's too many things in this. There's at least 10 different things in this list that needs to be better in order for this to turn around. And I do not think Frank can get that done in such a short period of time. And the other thing that Younes has said, that players look like they don't believe this manager anymore. They are fed up now. They've given up. They're just, it's the same thing over and over and over again. These players have just given up. And honestly, I think to answer the last question is, it's inevitable, 100%, as you boys have been saying. It's just a matter of perhaps, I had a really good session with PYS about an hour ago. A lot of heat PYS gets. I sat down and we actually had a really good conversation and did a mad recording, which will go live tomorrow. And he said that perhaps an interim, there were 4 coaches, right? So there was Ragnick, Hasenhuttl, Tuchel, and there was Nagelsmann.
Yeah.
He said that if it was Tuchel, we would have got him by now already, because he's ready. He's putting his hand up. Select me right now. So he would have been in already. So he wants to. Yeah. So it's not going to be him, because Chelsea don't want him, because if they wanted him, he would have been in already, because he's ready to go. What PYS was saying, which made a lot of sense, was he was thinking that interim, that might be Ragnick. And this is why the whole German philosophy, that's why we've been linked with a lot of Germans, right? And Hasenhuttl being Austrian background, but I'm talking about Bundesliga, right? Yeah. Ragnick might come in as an interim, and he establishes the whole Gegenpress and the whole German philosophy, the Bundesliga style of football, with the likes of Werner and Kai Havertz, and creating the team around them, right? And then someone like Nagelsmann comes in and takes over, because they're all in the same school of Ragnick. Ragnick started all the way back in the late 80s. This guy was 25 when he first started coaching. So, these people like Tuchel, Nagelsmann, and also Jurgen Klopp, they're all students of Ragnick. These guys have all sort of come from that school. So I think this could be a possibility. As you boys said, if we lose to Luton, I don't think Roman has any option. He'll just pretty much say, mate, just get out of here. I wanted to give you a nice send-off, but, you've killed it.
To be honest, there's no such thing as a nice send-off because there's no fans in the ground anyway. Exactly. But also, as you said about the players, only Mason Mount seems to be trying for him. And that is alarming because he's brought in a lot of these players. And that's why I always say in terms of, we talk about mentality of the players and 100% players have to take responsibility. I always try and split responsibility between players and manager. But I always say as well, the more that squad becomes yours, and really it's only the peripherals of the squad that is not really, probably liking Lampard in terms of the Kepas, the Alonso who have been phased out. They're the ones that really, if there's any unrest, they're the first ones that would be on the name sheet, on the team sheet. But in terms of, we're talking about player mentality, half the team is yours. So you have to take responsibility for that mentality. And if we're talking about player mentality and then you're playing Rudiger, who was phased out and is now, suddenly a starter over a Tomori who would have, ran through brick walls for you, I would assume, after knowing you from Derby. And do you know what I mean? It's these kind of decisions that...
Bro, what did Zuma do wrong? What did Zuma do wrong?
Exactly. It baffles me. I don't know.
It's a bit baffling to me in terms of the way that we've gone about it, but...
It screams desperation.
Yeah. It does.
Screams it. Because you look at Rudiger and you see him as maybe one of the most experienced players in the team and you think, okay, if I rely on my experience, maybe they're going to get us out of this rut. And that's not how to do it. This team needs chemistry and needs some sort of block, which we don't have. Every other team is now starting to get that, and we're just so fragmented. It's unbelievable. So that Rudiger call, I have no idea, man.
Honestly, Younes, how would Zuma feel in this situation?
Exactly, yeah.
Being touted as the future of Chelsea Football Club in terms of being the next phase of CBs that's coming through. And Frank's reasoning behind it off the back of the Fulham game was, the form was bad and I just wanted to change things up. So what kind of message are you giving to Zuma? The form was bad because of him? Do you know what I mean? Like,
what I want to touch on as well, which is very much linked to what iTest Merchant said as well. And I think it's borderline a joke. Not his comment. His comment was great. I'm talking about the new perspective that seems to be coming out. Chelsea need a DM. Chelsea need this. Chelsea need... Are you taking the absolute piss? Are people playing with me or what? Are you trying to piss? Are you really people? Are you trying to trigger me? I know this squad is not perfect, but what squad is, for fuck's sake? Seriously, no squad out there is perfect. Every manager on the planet will ask for something. But if you're trying to tell me this Chelsea team is not good enough to make top four, the Chelsea team at the start of the season that we lauded and applauded for the versatility in the front line, the Chelsea team that had made 7 changes to the starting 11 and had strengthened in every area, and it didn't seem to have any weakness. Kante can go and play DM, and we've got Billy Gilmore to back it up, no problems if things get sticky. The Chelsea team that, are 10 times better looking than last season in terms of weaponry. The Chelsea team that we said had the best depth in the league. That Chelsea team. The Chelsea team that we probably ranked in terms of on playing squad, probably third in the league, minimum. That's the Chelsea team now that suddenly is sitting 9th and can't make top 4. I really think there's been some mad brainwashing going on to say that this Chelsea team is not as good as it is. There's been a lot of brainwashing to say that this Chelsea team haven't got quality players. Suddenly now, Timo Werner is not a quality player. The same Timo Werner that we did up propaganda for, the same Timo Werner that did, goal contributions galore in the past year to be up there with Messi, Ronaldo, Lewandowski. That Timo Werner. The same Kai Havertz that was screaming generational talent, versatile, can play 4 positions, one of the best under 21 players in the world behind Sancho and Mbappe. That Kai Havertz. The same Hakim Ziyech that even I wasn't too keen on, but people were saying, listen, look what he did to us at the bridge, whipped our ass and handed it to us. The Champions League that went, Real Madrid, that Ziyech. I could keep going. Thiago Silva. And you're trying to tell me, this team can't make top 4 now. I've seen people tweet, say, we're not going to make top 4 anyway, so what's the point? We're in mid-January and you're telling me we can't make top 4. You're not saying we can't win the title in mid-January. You're saying we can't make top 4 in mid-January. Are you actually mad? Is that where we're falling to? That should be alarming in itself. How can them words even come out of Chelsea fans' mouths and they don't think to themselves, hold the fuck, that's a bit off. That doesn't seem right. Mid-January, with what was meant to be the most exciting season, playing attacking football, and we're talking about we can't make top 4 in mid-January. So what's the point?
Even Lampard after the game said we can't compete. And it's like,
but this is the thing,
Yeah.
Younes. This is the thing, and this is why I got a lot of heat on Twitter. And maybe I didn't phrase it correctly, and sometimes I need to pattern up on that. But I said, for me, his quotes since the Arsenal game have been very contradicting and a bit ridiculous at times. To say that we can't compete when I know when we was on good form, he was trying to calm people down, 100% cool. But to say we can't compete when at the start of the season, he said the mentality needs to be that we at Chelsea Football Club, we always need to be looking to challenge. So why are we now we can't even compete for top 4? What does we can't compete mean? We can't compete for the league. I don't think anybody's asking to compete for the league anymore. I'm asking for us to make top 4. If we can't make top 4, we made it last year. And like I said, I've always spoken about this. I think I spoke about it on last week's show. The project was second year top 4. So I'm still going along with the project, and I'm going along with the project with a freak season. So that brings it down, and better playing squad than we would have had if we finished outside the top 4 last season. That's the balance that I said on the byline. That's how I'm balancing it out. So it balances out to top 4. I'm very confused. I mean, do you boys think we need Declan Rice to finish top 4, or do we have a big good enough squad? Younes, what do you think?
like, the squad we have has talent. Let's not get it twisted. We have top players. We have it. You know, when you look at other teams, you can see an Aston Villa, for example, with a McGinn as a DM, and they're doing perfectly fine. Or you see a Leicester with Tielemans and Ndidi, and they look solid beyond belief. And then we have an N'Golo Kante, who's out injured at the moment, I understand. But even when he was playing, people were blaming Kante. We see him, Kovacic, and other midfielders just struggling. That's not ability. That's not based on them all of a sudden dropping form at the same time. And it's just a freak show that, oh my God, everyone all of a sudden doesn't know how to play football. No. There's people see only what they see on the pitch. You have to understand what's happening off the pitch, because it always happens. It's the same cycle. When results are not coming in and confidence goes down, and all of a sudden you start hearing rumors and there's bits and bobs coming out in the press about the manager, about the club, about players, this, that, and the other, you got to understand that every time that's happened in the past, later on, we have come to find out that at the training ground, there's been things happening. Do you know what I mean? There's always a fallout happening behind the scenes that we don't get to see. These are human beings. At the end of the day, they go to training, they go to work. They have to work alongside other people. They have to work alongside under a manager, which we only get to see during 90 minutes. But they go to Cobham. They, go to games away and home. They're always together. There's things happening that we don't see. So you have to understand that relationships could be falling. There could be disputes. There could be a breakdown. There's things that we don't know, but things happen in workplaces. We know this. So it's not just a case of on the pitch. I think there's a case of things happening off the pitch where players have just lost motivation. Players have there's no new idea. There's nothing being done to help these players get rejuvenated. And to blame it all on ability, and these players all of a sudden don't know what they're doing. Nah, come on. That's naive. I mean, very naive.
I've spoken about it with Alex a few times. I do agree the team lacks communication. I do agree the team lacks leadership at times. I do agree that we lack a physical presence in midfield, in terms of the midfield is very weak in terms of its physicality. And I do lack that. I do agree with all of that. However, I'm sure Aston Villa don't have the perfect team. I'm sure Leicester don't have the perfect team.
Exactly.
We're not just behind.
No one does.
Yeah, I'm sure Man City don't have a striker at the moment, but they've managed to adapt. I'm sure even under Conte, and again, like I said, this is a more experienced manager, so the comparison is not fair, but this is what you're up against in terms of the Premier League. When we look at the managers ahead of us, this is the type of quality and this is the type of level of coaching and adaptation that we're up against. And this is what I'm talking about when I say we have to make top 4, but look at the managers above us and around us and be honest to yourself. Where do you pick Frank Lampard on this Premier League table of managers? Because if you're telling me all the managers above him and you're telling me that he's probably mid-table for managers in the league in terms of knowledge, know-how, experience is probably even worse than that. So then how can you be confident that we'll make top 4? And if you've already agreed that we're not going to make top 4, isn't that kind of sad mid-January? Do you want to reflect on that? I would. Miz, what do you think?
Sorry, really quickly. Did you see James Maddison's interview for Sky Sports after the game?
I did, yeah. Brilliant interview. Absolutely fantastic interview.
That was unbelievable. But that goes to show you the homework that other players and other managers are doing. That interview had Brendan Rodgers written all over it.
Yeah, he literally spoke for him.
And
Miz, what do you think? I mean,
couple of things, and I'm going to touch on that whole interview of Madison, and I'm going to touch on another interview. First of all, Matisse, you said about brainwashing. We are 100% getting brainwashed. The word of Declan Rice is getting thrown around left, right, and center. And this is why I told you boys this a couple of days ago, or maybe a week ago, that I'm starting to get annoyed after every West Ham game, our fan base praising and celebrating Declan Rice's performances, which is fine. I understand why you're doing it, but you're not even doing that when some of our players are doing well. Do you know what I mean? When say, for instance, I don't know, like a Jorginho does well out of the blue. You don't even do that. Or when we played against West Ham, there was a lot more praise about Declan Rice. And I think this is brainwash 100%, and we need to step away from it. And we've got to a point, Matisse, is that we are led to believe that he is the missing, link. Did we have Declan Rice last season? Did we not get top 4 last season without Declan Rice? You need to, as you said, both of you guys have said that not any team in front of us or below us is perfect, right? You look at Leeds. Do they have a Declan Rice? No, they don't. Aston Villa, West Ham, all of these clubs in and around us, none of them have that, perfect team. You need to find a solution. And I feel like Frank at the moment, here's the other thing. If you so badly wanted Declan Rice, why didn't you get him in summer? Why didn't you tell the board that don't give me all of these players? And I think this is the other issue, boys. I feel like he got too many players at one go. I feel like he cannot keep all of these players happy because it's just too many characters, too many personalities, too many people to fit into the team. Had he just gone 2 or 3 maximum, that probably could have helped him out a little bit. I reckon he should have gone to the board and said, get rid of this player and get me Declan Rice, because I feel like once I get Declan Rice, I can start from the back. But he didn't do that. Now that you haven't done that, you've got to find a solution. You cannot sit there and go, but give me time till I get Declan Rice. It doesn't work that way. So, and then just I want to talk about the whole Brendan Rodgers stuff. I'm not sure if you guys seen, obviously, the Madison interview. You guys would have seen that, how everything he said, it was so technical, so polished, straight out of Brendan Rodgers' textbook. There's another interview that's going on, which is not an interview. It was actually a show Brendan Rodgers did with a couple of other, I think, dad coaches, like where he sat down and talked to other dads that do like sort of weekend coaches. And he was saying that football starts from a philosophy. This is what Brendan Rodgers was saying. You need to understand how you want to play, what kind of brand of football that you want to play. It's not about formation. We always sit here and talk about, but he should change to a 3-5-2, maybe a 4-2-3-1. Brendan Rodgers was saying you need to have a philosophy, a style of football that you want to play, whether it's possession-based or counter-attacking. Once you realize how you want to play, it doesn't matter what formation you play. It does not matter what formation, because you can play possession-based football with a 3-5-2. You can play counter-attacking football with a 4-3-3. You can do everything. As soon as you have the philosophy, the formation is whatever you want it to be, because you know the brand of football that you want to play. Right now, we're not playing the brand of football that we want to play. You're saying that Rice comes in and we're all of a sudden going to play the brand of football that we want to play? Get out of here, honestly.
We'll probably destroy Rice at the moment. Yeah, we'll probably make him look crap.
Phil Hammer says, we need the Bayern Munich manager. He would do wonders with the talents with this squad. I think the board should do all they can to get him. I can't lie to you. There's absolutely no way that man walks out of Bayern Munich and into Chelsea. There's no way. Unless he's got something absurdly wrong with him. And if he made that decision as a personal decision, I'd actually worry about his intelligence, and then I'd be worried and probably want him out. Reports that I read, Chelsea don't want to go down the interim route. Also, they don't want to tarnish Lampard's legacy at the football club, given him time. Let me touch on this, right? Let me touch on this. Fantastic comment, because you just segued me into something completely different. I was thinking about this the other day. A lot of people say that because it's Frank Lampard, we give him more time. What about the fact that it's Frank Lampard, he doesn't warrant this more time? And what I mean by that is not a disrespectful way, because we're separating player from manager, which we're doing very well in this stream. So don't get it twisted, people. When you don't have the CV and you don't have the projects in the past that you've built, started, succeeded with, and then left. When you don't have, when you're learning on the job, which is what every Chelsea fan will admit, how do you go into a crisis meeting and convince the board that you know what you're doing going forward? It's like if you're on the verge of losing your. It's like in real life if you're on the verge of losing your job, but you've got a CV of past employers that will be able to back you up and tell you this is what I did correctly in my previous jobs. This is where my experience is. This is what I've done. How do you give more time to someone who's got less of a chance than Jose Mourinho did of turning it around? Less of a chance than all of these other experienced managers have of turning it around? Because really, if you're looking at percentages of the percentage chance of Lampard turning it around with his tactical knowledge, everything that all of his experience, which is 2 years, in comparison to 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 60-plus-year-old, with all of their experience, the percentages, and this is just in life in general, in work, the percentages are they're not making sense. Do you know what I mean? If you don't have the experience of being in this situation, how do I expect you to have the experience of turning this around? I don't get where that comes from. Do you know what I mean? It's like giving the student graduate out of uni more time than the person. I get it because of an age thing maybe, or because you're pushing, you're building into a long term, you're banking on a long term future. But then also he's only got 1 year left on his contract. At the moment, he's not warranting a new contract. He's actually on the other side of the spectrum. So, and people talk about, legacy. What if it just gets worse? And then once again, Chelsea have been selfish in the fact, not only did they bring him in my opinion, too early, for his own managerial career and his own situation in terms of we've rushed him in because we're in a transfer ban and we need this and we need that and we need someone to help us now and all this shit. That's, for me, selfish, right? Because if I'm being real, Lampard, I can't blame him there because he was never going to reject the job. But we knew, and we should have known, that he wasn't ready. You don't have 1 year's experience at Derby and become ready for the Chelsea job. That never happens in any part of football. You look at Klopp, you look at all these managers, even Guardiola managing the B team for as long as he did. Arteta studying under Pep for all the time he did. John Terry studying under Dean Smith. There's been, most of these other guys have got more and better experience than just 1 year. 1 year, people, at Derby. Rack your brains around that. 1 year at Derby fucking County. And you're trying to tell me that was not a selfish decision. It was a selfish decision. And I said it when it happened. But I find I back it, cool, if he's here. But for his own managerial career, what if it just keeps plummeting, and then he can't get a job afterwards? He has to go and sit next to Gary Neville in the studio. Is that what you want? Because I would prefer that this ends amicably and it ends in a nice, calm way where we're like, okay, cool. I was hoping that he would just hit top four, get FA Cup, and then we would probably part ways. And I spoke to the Son of Chelsea about that preview to the City game because I just felt like he wasn't gonna reach the heights I wanted him to reach in management at Chelsea, which is to win the Premier League and to be extremely successful trophy-wise, not just transitioning and squad building. But you're trying to tell me a manager that has a year left on his contract and we're just dragging it out to see how bad it gets. What about his managerial career? Can he get a job after this? Is he going to get a good job, or are we going to just push him back down to the chat? Do you see what I'm saying? For me, it feels very selfish because people want to look at it one way, which is, oh, well, the more time we give him, the better, Okay,
but you know what, Matisse, just on that as well. Massive shout out to James, Redmond TV. I just saw him in the comments. I've always said to Matisse to reach out. That'd be a mad collab in his channel. James Redmond, if you're listening, reach out to Matisse. In regards to what you just said, Matisse, for Frank Lampard and his managerial, stature and his, we need to do something to save that face. I think he needs to be humble to himself as well. I think Frank needs to say to himself, am I really a long-term manager? He might have pictured himself that, I could have a massive managerial career, but I feel like that he's got great IQ. He understands the game very well, but he may not necessarily be the best teacher. Do you know what I mean? You could understand the game. We've seen Frank when he was a pundit, how brilliantly he spoke about the game and the way he broke the game down. but is he able to translate that into players and making them believe in that and then getting them to do it?
That comes with experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're two different things. People need to realize just because I understand football, that doesn't mean I can teach you how to play football. Do you know what I mean? So Frank needs to probably be humble on himself to say, am I really a manager though? Like, am I really a football manager, or am I something else? And it's okay. You're still going to be a legend to us. You're still going to be Frank Lampard, the player, the legend. We're not going to think any differently. But, I think this is something that fans need to also understand, that, but what about his legacy? I think his legacy, only he can answer his legacy. We shouldn't try and make it sort of, presume that management is his legacy. You know what I'm trying to say?
For me, his legacy will never be what he did in management, because
exactly.
What he did as a player was way too incredible to allow this little management experiment completely. It just doesn't. Do you know what I mean? It really doesn't. I'm not even to be honest, if I look back on it in 10 years and I think and I speak about Frank Lampard, I'm not really going to remember the management stint over the playing stint. It's just not going to happen. That's just not what his name means or defines. A lot of people say we can't keep sacking managers. Well, we don't want to sack him, but I have certainly come to the conclusion that we need to get rid, and we need to get a more experienced manager in. And a lot of people's backing and point behind this will be, we can't keep sacking managers because we're trying to build long term. Build long term under somebody who knows how to build long term, right? What I mean by that is, if you have a company and you have a project, you don't give project manager who has never on their CV built a project manager. It doesn't make any sense. I am more than happy, and I would love to see a long-term project. I don't want us to keep sacking managers. I want us to have a long-term project, 3-4 years minimum, under one person, same way Klopp has done at Liverpool. Everybody wants what Klopp and Pep are doing at those two clubs. But the difference is, those two guys that got the job have done it before, and they know what they're doing. So then when it goes wrong, they can go to the board and say, here's my PowerPoint presentation of what I did previously. This is what I'm going to do. Calm the fuck down. Lampard can't do that. And I can't sit here because a project under the wrong person can turn into Arsenal, and it turns into a demise, and it turns into a drop of standards. And I'm already seeing it. This is a club that at the start of the season, we're going to challenge for the title, or we're going to be really entertaining. What now in January, we can't make top 4. We can't do it. What the fuck? Like, seriously, deep that in your heads and really think about it and say to yourself, in mid-January, no matter what side of the fence you're on, mid-January, and some people are giving up on top 4, does that actually resonate in your brains? Deep that in your brain cells, bro. It is wild. I've never seen it in my goddamn life, bro. It's not about impatience. It's not about being part of the younger generation. It's about just actually deep in for a minute. Second year in the project where we was meant to make top 4, which is the course I'm following, and you're telling me mid-January, now we can't make top 4, it's a wrap. Just forget about it. Free season again. You mad? Maybe you need Jesus, bro. Seriously. Maybe you do. Seriously. Because I'm not going to sit around and watch us become Arsenal. That is not going to happen. And like I said, I love a project. I love buying into a long-term vision. I hate sacking managers every year. But the managers that get the projects have experience of how to, do the project from start to finish. They have the experience in coaching. Like Miz said, and like I said, when I was on 100% of course, I said, give him time. My whole point to giving him time was that 2 weeks, because we've seen a lot of people say, you haven't had the preseason. Completely agree. You haven't had the time in between games. Completely agree. You had that time, those 2 weeks, and that Morecambe game. Perfect opportunity to show us what you're trying to do. And then Fulham, nice, good fixture after they had COVID tests, and they're at Tottenham midweek to prove. Again, that was an absolute shambles of a performance. Then you have Leicester. That 2 weeks, I didn't see anything. And right now, I can't say that what happened in those 2 weeks. Again, it's about, I know what you're trying to do, Frank. I can explain what you're trying to do with your signings. I love the idea, but are you experienced enough to implement it consistently and quick enough to keep your job? That's what I've always said. And it's not even about Lampard, being the only problem, because he's not. The players are 100% responsible. The coaching staff I've brought up are also responsible, in my opinion, because I don't think there's enough variety or experience in that coaching staff either. I've said this before, where a Steve Holland right now would be very, very damn well useful, in my opinion. I blame the board as well for even putting us in this situation. But my point is that it's not even just about Frank Lampard. It's about what he's up against. Compare him to what the rest of the league has, because that's what it is. If we had a league of 20 managers who all had 1 year experience at Derby, cool. I would just be like, give Frank Lampard time. He's up against the same thing, so it's not a problem. This league, I've never seen so many good coaches in this league. Like, we're seeing Steve Bruce try and bring his 2010 tactics, and it's not working because everybody in this team, most teams in this league are very well coached and they can play football. And that's where we're getting exposed. And I said this weeks ago, where mid-table teams have better managers than some of the top teams. And that's where the balance, and that's where the league is starting to get like that instead of like that. It's starting to get closer, because you look at a Southampton when we go up against them. Okay, yeah, we got better players, but they're probably better coached. And not many people will be able to tell us otherwise. I feel like you might want him to stay on 100% if you got more time and patience, 100%. But I feel like, because I would have been running out of logical reasons by now, if I'm being honest, and it would have been more based on emotion. I don't know about a lot of others, but if you're really separating emotions from logic, and you're seeing he's got the worst stats of any Chelsea manager, and if you're a student getting straight E's, you're not going to suddenly get A's and win the Premier League. That differential is too big. If you look at where Klopp has come from at Mainz and Dortmund, it didn't take him a couple seasons at Liverpool to win the league. It took him his whole managerial career to learn at Mainz to what he did at Liverpool. That's what people forget. It's not just a couple years and then suddenly you go from this to this. It's the whole thing, the whole managerial career. If you're in your job, you rely on the first couple of years experience as well, as much as the last few years. You don't just suddenly transform into a fucking, Power Ranger and just start doing mad shit. Younes, talk to me, man.
Fuck. I fully agree. And, it goes back to that one point that we had at the very beginning of this, where we did say we were worried that Lampard is coming into this inexperienced, and we all had our doubts, but it was only once he got the job, we were like, oh, okay, cool, fine. It's Lampard, isn't it? Brilliant club legend. It's realistically, if it wasn't Frank Lampard, and if it was another man in the job, performing at the same level right now,
only starting Callum Hudson-Odoi for 3 games in the Premier League, another manager. Brother,
he would be ripped, mate. Sorry, look at Sarri last season. There was an issue with him and Hudson-Odoi. Remember, loads of fans were asking, match-going fans as well, were asking Sarri, you play Hudson-Odoi. And each time he'd play him a little bit, bring him off, or he'd start him on as a sub, and then he'd only get 15 minutes. And everyone was like, yo, what's going on? Lampard does the same, and only a handful are peed off at it. That's the thing. If it was another manager performing in the exact same way that Frank is at the moment, everyone would be on his head. Everyone. And this is why we have to separate.
Because it makes more sense to be more patient with someone who's got the experience, where you can say, do you know what I mean? This is where people are saying, people that want another manager now, if this was the same situation, you'd be just as impatient. No, because they would have the CV as say us all fans are employers, because without us, there's no club. If you're looking at someone who's coming and approaching you and needing more time, evidence. And that evidence is not just one good season last year, it's a whole decade of evidence most of the time. So again, it's very confusing. What went well for Lampard in those 17 unbeaten games? How did we become I don't know. Miz, you can answer that.
What went well for Lampard in those 17 unbeaten games? How did he become a worse manager? Honestly, we've touched on this. I think that 17 match unbeaten game. You know what? Just hold that thought, because I need to address something that I've noticed in the comments. Someone from Patriot something was saying that we're only 5 points away from Liverpool, and he made another comment. I just want to say, don't get yourself
one game, by the way.
Yeah, not just that. Don't get fooled by 5 points. 5 points this season is probably 15 points in a normal season. No, seriously. I feel like tell us what 5 points are we going to get in our upcoming matches? We've got Wolves, we've got Burnley, we've got Spurs. I don't even think there's 5 points there for us.
In order to catch up, you'd have to beat teams above you. And I was just waiting for that Leicester game because I know we have a better team than Leicester, although Leicester have a very, very good team. It's never an easy place to go. However, if you want to catch up, you have to beat them. And again, we have to make top 4. And if I'm picking a team to come out of top 4, it would be Leicester. So just on paper. So how the hell are we going to allow Leicester to extend their lead over us? And then you're still going to tell me we're going to make top 4? How? If we can't even beat the teams that we need to take out of those, we need to not only gain points, 100%. We need to take points off of them. We need to take some control back. If we can't take points off of the teams that we need to leapfrog, how are we going to catch them?
We haven't beaten anyone above us, except
no one. And then the question that I want to throw to the comments is that tell me exactly how we are going to get 5 points. You say that we are 5 points away from Liverpool, like it's just next door neighbor that we can just grab our hand and just pull them out. 5 points, as I'm telling you, that might as well be 20 points. To be honest, that's how the gap is. But anyway, getting back to this 17 unbeaten games, I think we've been fooled in that time because you look at the caliber of teams that we've played. I don't think, besides Sevilla, you can probably say Man United. We've got a draw against them, but besides Sevilla, against Man United, honestly, we didn't play. It was really Man United playing. Now you can say that, but Aspilicueta should have got a penalty. Yeah, sure, but you look at the whole game, we did not play. It was really Man United who was looking to play. They had the better chances at the end. They made Mendy really work hard. They sold the dream that Mendy is world's best keeper to us, which is, thanks to Man United for faking that to us. But, that whole 17-match unbeaten streak, as I said, was a bit of a false hope. We didn't really get tested. Yes, few things were looking good for us. We had good movement in terms of passing abilities. Ziyech was probably playing some really good football at that time. I think injuries weren't that prevalent at that moment, so we were looking good. But fundamentally, there were still issues. The issues that we're seeing now, those issues were still existent, but we got away with it because we played teams like, lower teams like Burnley's and Newcastle's who are still getting hammered by everyone. So, or even Fulham that we've just managed to get a victory. It's after the 17 matches when we started playing the real teams is when the real team said to us, come to daddy, let me show you how to play football. And that's when we've collapsed. So, it's not the 45 days. I think it's if you've actually gone back and seen from the get-go, even against Brighton, boys, do you guys remember the very first game against Brighton? How good did Brighton look with the ball? And we got away with it with a Reece James cracker. And then from there, we kind of took over. But it was 1-1 at one point.
Even Fulham, right? Yeah. After that 2 weeks, with 11 men, they were zipping the ball around better than us. They created a clear-cut chance that they should have taken. And then before Robinson got himself sent off, we were looking like we were going to not win that game, right? And that's a Fulham team. That's you hear about how much Chelsea fans talk about Kai Havertz with the COVID, and Lampard talks about it and how to play. They had 10 blood clot players with the disease and still managed to come back. Are you kidding me? Like, do you see how many, not excuses, but do you see how much, for me, again, it's brainwashing. Or this is not right. Brothers had 10 players out. Aston Villa had no players, had to go to their under-23s and put in a decent performance against Liverpool. Adaptation is key. But that comes with experience. You can't adapt if you don't have the experience to do so. And my thing is that Fulham was just so poor, and people just said, "Oh, we won. 2 weeks.
That was the only saving grace. That
2
was the
weeks
only
for that.
saving
Are you
grace.
taking the piss? Fulham, who just played Tottenham and had no energy whatsoever. Well, you would have thought after that Tottenham game, right? I know they're playing very well. I know they played very well yesterday, but that was a Fulham team that we had 2 weeks to prepare for, in my opinion. And again, this is a team, and again, this is a team now under pressure. This is a team that should be fighting for their manager. This is a team that should be, and I'm not expecting liquid football, but even against 10 men, we just did not look like we were going to score until Hudson-Odoi came on.
How did we score, Matisse? How did we score? It was off Areola pushing the ball to Mason Mount. Like, That's how we
And
ended up
people will say
scoring.
Fulham's in form and Leicester in form, and then maybe you'll turn around and tell me Burnley's our bogey team, and Wolves, well, they're very good on the counter-attack, so they should probably beat us as well if we can.
Excuses
and then
every
Tottenham,
time.
well, Tottenham are obviously, you can't keep doing this for every single game. Oh, well, this team and this team. We have to win games, people. This is the Premier League.
This is the thing as well. After the Fulham game, and we saw how we played. Sorry, do you remember Lampard coming out and saying, "Oh, we've had 2 weeks, with the Morecambe game, but we've had 2 weeks to work on things that we didn't have the time to work on before."
And we're never going to have that time again, by the way.
And then we played the way we played against Fulham, and then we get smashed the way we did against Leicester. So what did we do in training? What exactly did? Because if you're talking about working on things and having a benefit from it, well, I'm sorry, but the Leicester game, we looked worse. The Fulham game with the circumstances against 10 men, that wasn't good enough. So what have we been doing in training? I'd love to watch a training session, honestly. I'd love to go to Cobham, just sit there and watch and see what do we do? What do we actually do? I'd love to see it.
Do you know what,
Younes? It all culminates to, as you boys have both been saying, a manager that lacks experience. I don't know whether these lads go to training thinking, "Oh, we're gonna be doing some really great tactical drills today. We're gonna sit down and see exactly how to break Leicester down." I don't think. I think they just go there. All right, guys, just start doing your drill, do your warm ups, do your rundowns, and stretch a bit. Make sure all the muscles are fine. And I don't think there's any homework that's being done. Like, look at the way Madison is talking.
I won't even say that. I don't believe they do that. I do believe that they're doing work. However, again, it's just teachers with more experience tend to be better teachers. So if you have a teacher just coming out of uni, she usually starts from primary school level, or maybe, do you know what I mean? Because it's because you need to work your way up, because it takes time. It's like with our low knees. Why are we not applying the same logic? It's like with our low knees. We send them to the test. Why? Because they're not ready. They've only got 1 or 2 years experience in the under 23s or whatever, or the under 18s. They need experience. They need know-how. We speak about how Mason Mount last season was played out of position, sometimes maybe to learn the defensive side of the game, because he needs experience. I've seen Mason Mount progress more this season as a player than I've seen Lampard as a manager. That's being honest. And then on top of that, I always say, if you've got a squad of high potential, and we're all learning together, cool, 100%. Everybody's got to learn at the same rate, and everyone's got to learn and go like that, yeah. And if the manager's not learning as quickly as I feel like Mason Mount has potentially been learning this season, or do you know what I mean? We're talking about Mason Mount carrying the team and fighting for Lampard. I'm looking at Mason Mount as the person at this point who is carrying everyone. Do you know what I mean? Or Hudson-Odoi when he, before last game, carrying everyone. I'm not seeing what Lampard is doing on the bench to say, oh, Lampard is carrying this team like Klopp carried Liverpool with all their injuries, and it's the team that are below Lampard's level. Like you would say a Karius or a Moreno was below Klopp's level. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't feel like Lampard is not doing a carry job here. That's what I'm trying to push. Well, not even push. That's what I'm trying to discuss here, is that he's not carrying the team. So is he detrimental to the team? Well, that sounds harsh, but someone more experienced will probably be able to help this team a lot more. We talk about a lack of experience, a lack of character. That comes from management. And 2 things I've been very surprised with is that, 1, he looks extremely dejected and seems devoid of ideas on the touchline. And he doesn't have the energy that he had last season. I think part of that is the lack of fans as well in the crowd. That's probably playing on him as well, because as a player, you obviously rely on a crowd. And this is him in management. It's the first time where now he's got no crowd as well. And we know the crowd would have been super supportive. Potentially that would have re-energized him, given him that battery. But we're not going to have a crowd until the end of the season, so that's not really something that we can wait on. But potentially that's where the energy's been dejected out of him, where he has no crowd to really, the 11th man they call it. Do you see what I'm saying? And on top of that, with being under Mourinho as well as a player, I'm very surprised he hasn't been more pragmatic in situations of absolute dire. City, you talk about, and look, I love the fact that he's trying to stick to principles and he's trying to be stubborn to some extent, because I wanted him to fixate on something this season in comparison to last season where he was changing every minute. this season, it's been very nice to see the fact, and I said it in our good form, that he's stuck with something. He's been consistent with the lineups and whatnot. However, when you go through really difficult times, and we're talking about game-to-game basis now, where I'm trying to be like, yo, we need you, you need to keep your job. So what are you going to do to ensure that you keep your job? And allowing transitions against Leicester is not one of the ways to ensure to keep your job. Making the pitch really big against Leicester, a team that are known for counter-attacking, is not a great way to save your job. I'm surprised that I'm surprised he didn't go deep, because you got Vardy and his only strength is running behind. You put up a low block against Vardy and the whole game changes. I'm very surprised he didn't go pragmatic, especially after playing 2 games as well 2 days ago. You could have easily used that excuse and been like, yo, I need to conserve the energy. I'm surprised that he didn't go with a low block counter-attack with Werner. You talk about these Bundesliga players. What do they know? What are they used to? Attacking space. Those Bundesliga teams play high lines galore. I'm surprised he hasn't said to the team, okay, cool, we're in a rough patch. I know my goalkeeper can do cross collection. I know Thiago Silva can organize and structure a defense. I know Anthony Barry can help me organize and structure a defense. I don't care what the long-term plan is. You lot are going to cost me my job, because he's been putting it on the players a lot. So I'm keeping that rhetoric. But I'm going to set you up now to counter just for a couple games until we get ourselves out of this shit. So I'm going to put a low block in, or a deeper block. We're not going to play so high. We're not even going to really try and play out from the back too much. And we're going to hit them on the break. And Werner, Kai Havertz, and all these players that are suited to space, go do your thing. Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Abraham, so many players suited to space. Go and do your thing. I'm not saying it's what I want, but if I'm just surprised he hasn't tried it, because again, we speak about the intelligence and knowing the intelligence to, we think he can get himself out of it. That would be maybe a way of doing it, but he hasn't tried anything. It seems he seems to be very fixated on going on the same thing over and over again. Very similar to how Sarri was, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And at the same time, with Lampard, as you just said, it doesn't seem like there's any flexibility, but there's no sign. At the same time, though, you look at the players and the way that they were holding themselves in the Leicester game, man. There was no energy. There was nothing. This is where in my head I'm thinking, look, if it's a matter of tactics, cool. But if the players are not even running, there's not even any sprinting going on. There's as we've said, it only looked like Mason Mount was the one that was running about. We just looked slow. Players didn't look like they were bothered. I mean, those are the basics. You put tactics and all that on the side at that point. It's like, look, lads, do you want it? Do you want it enough? Yeah. And I'd like to think yes, because they're top-end professionals playing for Chelsea Football Club. I'd like to think that, but they didn't show it, and that's the concerning thing. And with this now, as you've just mentioned, in terms of what Lampard needs to do, and any sign that we need to try and show ourselves that things are going to get better. Well, where are those signs? Because at the moment, it just looks like we're doing the same thing over and over again. As you said, Lampard needs to help himself and change things, at least to just try and save his job. At this point, you can't lose anything at this point. Your back's against the wall. You might as well try something different, because if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get a sack anyway. But this is where we have to ask, are these signs there? And this false sense of, it's going to be okay. Don't worry, we'll pick up points. It's going to be okay. It screams of, because it's Lampard, we're just going to just trot along and, just because he's a club legend, we're just going to trot along and just hope that things are going to get better. It reminds me of that situation. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. When the Americans invaded Iraq, and Comical Ali, if you remember Comical Ali, who was in his office, and they were telling him, the Americans are coming. He's like, it's fine, they won't come. And then they showed up and they tell him, the Americans are here. He's like, it's fine, they won't get into Baghdad, don't worry. And then they go and they say, they've arrived at Baghdad. It's like, don't worry, they won't come near this building. And then it's like, all right, the Americans are outside. It's like, it's cool, they won't come into the office. And next thing you know, he's been taken. It's that sense of, everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it.
The last chat was someone saying as well that we'll make European football in some form. What? I am not. I love the Europa League song. I danced to it last season on camera for Twitter.
I don't even want to play Europa League, man.
Like, no. And this is what I'm talking about. Now we're a club where Champions League, Europa League, Champions League, Europa League. And before, Arsenal were a club that always made top 4. And then they became Champions League, Europa League. And now suddenly they haven't been in the Champions League for what, 5 years? I don't think people understand the importance of making Champions League football. Not only from a financial standpoint, in a club that has no gate receipts, just the same as everybody else, no gate receipts in terms of this season, because obviously the pandemic and whatnot, but a club that put money into this squad, and they didn't enhance the playing squad and do the turnover that we did. Because let's be real, a lot of players last season, this is why I gave Frank so much credit. Not only I just didn't rate a lot of the players that we had last year. A lot of them I didn't rate. Your Williams, even Pedro was declining big time. Batshuayi, whatever. I don't even know who the hell was here at this point. But we didn't do all of that overhaul for no reason. We did it because we didn't rate the playing team and we didn't rate the playing squad. But we didn't bring in all those players to then go into the Europa League, because now then we can't attract players this summer that we would have been going for. These final missing pieces we speak about, potentially, not Declan Rice, because I think he comes even if we get relegated, but that brother just wants to come. He doesn't care where we are, to be honest. But do you know what I mean? Like, the project was meant to be going up like that, not like that. So It doesn't really make any sense to me. That's what I feel like. I get it. A lot of people are, and again, it's taken, it's not easy to separate your emotions from logic, but for me on YouTube, doing streams, hour long, I have to. I can't waffle. The people will notice that I'm waffling if I start saying, well, guys, I know he has the worst win percentage and it's below Villas-Boas and Scolari, but things will turn around. I don't know how, because we had 2 weeks and nothing's changed, but it will happen, even though I don't know how. I can't explain exactly how, but it's gonna happen. What? Like, they're just gonna be like, yo, shut the hell up, bro. Do you know what I mean?
There's no logic.
From the moment that I can, and I feel like a lot of people can do this, from the moment that you can make a better case for him to go than for him to stay, then I think you know where you are. And maybe, you don't want to say it, but you know in your heart of heart what the situation is. If you can make that case stronger against than for. And like I said, it's not about being impatient. It's not about not wanting a long-term project. It's about wanting a long-term project under someone who knows exactly what they're doing. And I think we all said it. He is learning on the job. And many people said it, and I included didn't want to listen, because I've been doing propaganda and loving life and just riding the wave and enjoying myself and really just being a fan, because that's what I am. But at some point, I had to sit to myself and say, no. You know what, Matisse? You don't come to Chelsea to learn. You don't you teach at Chelsea, cool, but you don't actually come here to figure things out as you're here. And if you are going to do that, then you better figure it out very quickly so you can implement it. What was you going to say there, bro?
I was going to say, let's be real, Keith. We've got us three here sitting here, and we talk about people that still want Frank Lampard to be in. Give me one reason, just quick answers from either one of you, and I'll think about it as well. Younes, what would you want to keep Frank Lampard? What is it that you would say that this is the reason why I want to still keep him?
The only thing that's in my head, which I know at this point in time is just not going to happen, would be the dream of winning a trophy with Lampard as the manager. That's it. That's the only image in my head where I'd go, oh, bloody hell, that would be the pinnacle. That would be incredible.
But that's so far-fetched. That's so far-fetched.
It's just that hope, and that's it. Apart from what we're seeing on the pitch right now, or
from a footballing point of view, from a tactical point of view, from all of that point of view, any reason why you would want to keep him? Tactical, in-game management, all of that?
I can't give you a positive on that, I'm afraid.
No. Again, it was just the hope that we would make top 4 and win the FA Cup. I was really disappointed we didn't win it last year. And this is, a lot of people will look back on this if it was to end in a couple of weeks and say it's been a success. I would disagree, because I look at it and I say to myself, we talk about it all the time, where Chelsea are a winning club and managers who haven't won anything here come here and win. We've done it many times, right? I would have wanted Lampard. I would never have wanted Lampard to be hired and not win anything, because he's a winner. Like, people forget this. It's not even us being spoiled, or you only like Chelsea when you're winning. Bro, I'm going to watch the next game and the next game and the next game regardless. I'm going to watch us if we get relegated. In fact, I would think it'd be kind of hilarious if I had to cover Chelsea versus Luton on a weekly basis. However,
Chelsea versus Millwall. Brilliant.
However, I'm just trying to, I think not enough fans apply what Lampard stands for to what Lampard is producing. And what I mean by that is that you might be okay for him to finish 5th, but I don't think Lampard will look you dead in the eye and say, if we finish 5th,
that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think Roman will tell you that either. I don't think, you're looking at Lampard, but you're not applying his own methods and his own standards to what he's doing right now. This is a player. If you want to go with being a player and use that sentimental, then cool, let's use it. But as a player, he strove for the very best. As a player, he produced. He's not producing. As a player, he had standards, 20 goals every season. Do you know what I mean? In all comps. Win this, win that. That's what he wanted as a player, to perfect. So if as a manager, he's not able to hold the same standards that he had as a player, which is to produce, then for me, that is detrimental to what Frank Lampard stands for. And that is why I say there is no point rinsing the sponge because we're selfish and that we've got emotional attachments and we want, okay, come on. Do you know what I mean? Stay with us.
Yeah.
What about his own managerial career? I don't want to see him with Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville talking about Valencia, how it went wrong, and how it went wrong at Chelsea. And now let's analyze football. I want him to continue. He wants to be a manager, so I want him to be in management. I want him to have a fantastic managerial career. I want him to win the Champions League. I want him to do all these things. And he's very young, and he's still going to have time to recover from this. But the more that, for me, that we rinse the sponge, when really, for me, there's no clear signs after those 2 weeks of upturn, then we're just not only damaging ourselves, we're damaging him as well. And that's what I don't like. And I didn't like it when we appointed him and we wanted him too early, in my opinion, because we wasn't thinking about him and what he's ready for. It's like bringing in a youngster. It's like saying that, okay, now Livramento is going to be our starting right back and we're going to start him every single game until the end of the season. You're setting him up to fail. He's not ready for that responsibility. That's what we've done, in my opinion, from the beginning so, like I said, we had short-term needs, transfer ban, apply to youth, but long-term, did we really deep it and be like, is he actually experienced enough to do all of that? Like, not just the first part, the second part. Because most people can figure out the first part of the problem in maths, and then the second part is like, oh, shit, it's getting difficult now. Do you see what I'm saying? And 100%, he's been unlucky in the fact that we've had a pandemic in the middle of his managerial project. But like I said, Google the definition of management. Management is about managing different situations. You don't appoint a president, shout out Trump, and then war starts or whatever. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I wasn't expecting this, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, whoa, this has kind of come out of nowhere. You was appointed to deal with situations that you may not be able to foresee. You was appointed to deal with situations that you may not have under your control. We may not have a fully fit squad all the time, but you and your title is manager, and management is all about adapting to new situations and finding solutions to new problems. That is the definition of management. That is why the management position is above the normal co-worker, because the normal co-worker just takes instruction. The manager is the one that has to apply everything that he's known in his experience of being the co-worker. Lampard hasn't been the co-worker for very long, to the new situation. So right now, Leicester, Everton or Tottenham finish above us. Miz, your take on that, bro? Shit.
Leicester for sure. Leicester's top 4 team at the moment. They were leading the table not that long ago after our win. So 100%. Tottenham, they're a bit of a hit and miss. I think the thing with Spurs this season is they're very, very focused on winning a particular title. They want to get either the Carabao Cup or the Europa. So that may take their focus away from the league a little bit, even though they want to be top 4. I think, for them as well, be detrimental. But I think Jose is there to win a particular title. And I get the feeling they may just get that Carabao Cup.
Remember the Carabao Cup finals at the end of the season now as well. It's not in Feb.
April.
April. So yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens there. Maybe Spurs is one team we could take on because they are involved in all of the competition so far. Who's the other one? Leicester, Everton. They don't have anything else besides the league. I don't think they're in. They're not in the Carabao. I think they're still in the FA Cup, but they've got Ancelotti. So there's a lot of experience there to see them through the tough times. Yeah. We've seen Ancelotti where he started so well, then he had that blip in the middle, but he turned it around. And once again, who did he turn it around? He turned it around against us. And once he beat us, they went on a bit of a run, and now they're back again. So this is what we wanted to see from Frank, is to how you can turn around. I'm not saying we're going to go out there and win every game, not at all. But how you could have turned around off the back of that Everton loss or off the back of that Wolves loss. This is what I say about Chelsea Football Club. We are far too big of a club to have 2 months of poor form. We are too big for that. We cannot have 2 months of bad form. We could perhaps have one bad game, maybe a back-to-back loss, every 5 years. Not even like that every season. But when you have, what's our record at the moment? 1 win or 2 wins in 8 or something like that?
2 wins in 8, 5
and by the way, those
5
2 wins were not good performances. Because I remember the West Ham game. We won them up for a very long time. And
Fulham win.
And Fulham.
That free was a little bit of a false image. Do you know what I mean? If you remember the game.
But the key is 5 losses in 8. That's
the key. We cannot have that. Like, whether it's Frank, whether it's Sarri, whether it's Joe Blow or whoever it is, we cannot have 5. 5 losses out of 8.
But bro, it's not even just the losses; it's the manner of the losses.
It's the manner of
because a Frank Lampard team was never meant to stand for a lack of determination, a lack of interest, a lack of heart, a lack of. Yeah. This is what Lampard's team was meant to stand for. That was meant to be the big plus, is that they're all going to play for him. He's a legend of the club. They're not going to down tools. And I think everybody's in agreement that some of these players and some of his own signings and some of that starting 11, they didn't play for him. So, and I know it's not fair, but the same rules apply every time. The manager, the buck stops with the manager every time. And we know this. And it's not going to change just because it's Frank Lampard. I said this already. The players that he signed will be here after he is gone, because you don't sign players, then go to Roman and say, well, they down tools for me. And then he gets rid of all of those players and then you get new ones again. You only get one chance to make the cake. And if you burn it, then you don't eat it. You move on and you tell another chef to go make another cake. Like, you just what I'm saying? Like, you don't just get these reruns. So he has to inspire this team that don't seem to be playing for him to start playing for him. I've never seen under Klopp that team down tools ever for them. They might have lost games. They might have played like shit. They've never down tools for him. And that's what I'm talking about. The strengths of having Frank Lampard as manager.
Bro, how many times has Klopp there? How many times, has Klopp gone to the media and put his players under the bus? Zero. Yeah. You look at what Frank's doing lately.
He actually would rather come up with daft excuses, but it's better than putting the players under the bus.
Yeah, but Jurgen Klopp in behind the scenes, he's probably going up to the players and actually screaming at them. He's not going to say that. He's going to say in the media, well, that penalty should have been given or that foul should have been given. He deflects.
People say he's delusional. People mock him for it, but there's a reason why he does it. And for me, the moment that you start turning on your own players, or that you start putting out the quotes, and I've been saying it for the last month, the quotes since Arsenal have been dodgy. They've been a bit reckless. They've been a bit mad. Again, Lampard is usually very composed. This is another strength of his. Very good with his words in the media, very composed. He seems to be saying things that I'm thinking to myself, if Timo Werner or if this player or that player is watching it on the big screen in the dressing room, they're like, fuck this guy, man. Because, again, we've spoken about it. These players have conversations amongst themselves. You think they're not speaking about how they were coached under Nagelsmann and how they were coached under Tuchel and how they were coached? Do you see what I'm saying? So if you're in a
boys,
workplace,
you two would have talked behind your manager. I've talked behind my manager.
Everyone
We
does.
all do.
Everyone
We
does.
all do.
Whether positive or negative.
and that's why I'm
Yeah.
so concerned about the drop off in determination in application, because I feel like they're having those discussions behind the scenes. They're like, no, this guy's not it. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what I worry about. Publicly, everyone's like, oh, they're backing them. All these lovely quotes that are getting sold to the fucking Telegraph. Bro, don't kid yourself. Everybody is media trained. Just because they are saying, we back the manager, what else do you expect them to say? If I'm in a meeting and I don't like my manager at work, and I don't think that he knows what he's doing, I'm obviously, when I'm asked, I'm like, yeah, he's doing a great job. Because I'm trying to, brother, they're trying to start games. They're not going to be like, yeah, I don't believe in him. Like, what? Come on, man. These are human beings. They're not robots. Of course, they're not going to always tell you the truth in the media. I just spoke about last week how Lampard has lied in the media previously. Sometimes they've been white lies, great lies, and sometimes I've been like, I don't know about that. Like, there's been contradicting statements. There's been Hudson-Odoi needs to improve on this and this, and I completely agree. Then when you're starting wingers who are not producing what you're saying he needs to improve on, and you need points, it's a bit confusing. I don't get it. Do you know what I'm saying? When you're saying again the expectations at the start of the season to the expectations now, and they've changed, I'm not understanding what's going on. When you're, these are the things that just don't add up for me. And again, like I said, this is a human being. Lampard is a human being. He's stressed. He knows he's under pressure. So I'm not even surprised that he's saying stuff in the media that maybe we don't expect him to say. We don't expect him to throw players under the bus. How many times last season did he just stick up for players relentlessly, regardless of what was going on?
Yeah,
because he wasn't stressed.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Stress can do a lot to a person, but it's also the fact that he's not experienced in how to maybe cope with these. This is the first time he's ever gone through this, and people will use that to his advantage and say, "Well, it's the first time we've ever had this issue for Frank Lampard in his whole managerial career, so he'll give him time to get out of it." But also, this is the first time he's ever had this experience. So how does he know how to deal with it? Is my question. I Test Merchant. If you want to put in your obviously don't use the super chat. Just put all your questions that you had, if you remember them, all in one bubble. Because StreamYard are very messy right now. They don't even show. Like, they show everyone's chat, but they don't allow me to scroll all the way back up. So if you put something in, I can't go back all the way to it because there's a limit to what I can go back to. But we are going to wrap up the show soon. People, final thoughts. I mean, it looks like they've given him more time. What do you want to see against Luton? What do you want to see against... Well, I guess we'll talk about Luton and we'll talk about Burnley, because by the time I speak to you again, we would have played Burnley. And then it will be Wolves. So... Is it Wolves first or Burnley? Because my head is
Luton, Wolves.
Wolves first, is it?
Yeah, Luton, Wolves, Burnley, Tottenham, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I'm getting confused. Yeah. I'm suffering here. I'm not gonna lie. The club are taking its toll on me, man. I need air, people. And then I've got to go on Rance's channel at 1 and with DG, and I just know the energy is going to be so peaking.
You're gonna find it.
Oh my god, I am going to get absolutely crucified. Seriously. What do you guys want to, because obviously he's getting time, so let's talk about that. And the reason why I haven't brought up players is because I've already gone through all the players that I don't want to see starting, and I don't want to, like, we've spoken about players so often now, and at this point it's just about managerial situations, because we've seen players down tools before, and we've seen when a new manager comes in, they suddenly start playing amazing again. So at this point, the players are just the players. So I'm disappointed in most of them, but it is what it is. Like I said, only Mason Mount tried on that pitch the other night. If I was to go through every single player, I'd be here all day. I think collectively, most of them are playing shit, and I can point out maybe 3 people: Silva, Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount. I don't know if there's anyone else that are playing well at the moment.
Sorry, I just want to say, because it's been mentioned in the comments quite a lot, and I've just had I just checked, and there's something about Jody Morris. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen, but there's someone that put out an Instagram post of a picture of Frank Lampard as a player, and it reads, "If I was playing under him, I'd put my all for him. That's the least he deserves. He always gave his all as a player, so I'm not turning on him. I don't cross my people even in negative times. Fuck it, we in this together. I'm ride or die with it." And Jody Morris liked it. So people are now looking at this going, I mean, it could be reaching. Maybe he just likes the message that's there, but it could be a case of where some people are saying he's liked it because he knows the players are not playing for him.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, Younes. That's pretty much what it is.
This is the thing. This puts fuel on the fire. You're the assistant manager, bruv. What are you doing?
He's done so many times.
This is not the first time he's done this, right?
No,
Because we had this situation with Jose Mourinho.
But
now
Jody for calling him out on it.
I don't see him shouting instructions. I don't see him. What is he doing on the bench to enhance the situation? You had all the smack to talk about Jose Mourinho when it was going good. What are we saying now? Why can't we see Jody do some of the press conferences? Why can't we see Jody do some of the interviews? I've never seen an assistant manager who takes less media responsibilities than I have Jody.
Bro, I think he's been a bad influence.
And I don't want to get
Frank
onto him
Lampard
too much because, like I said, I rate him as an academy coach. But I have been screaming for the longest that we need a more experienced assistant manager for Frank Lampard to lean on. Usually, Arteta to Pep, John Terry to Dean Smith. Usually, the inexperience is the other way around. But fuck it, we're here. Steve Holland, in my opinion, would be of more use right now to Frank Lampard than Jody Morris. That doesn't mean I want Jody gone. I would like Jody to just be where Joe Edwards is and really just coach. Obviously, that's Frank's decision to make. He picks his staff. But for me, I've seen too many times where people, and I did the same thing with Drinkwater when he was on Snap, when he was on Instagram acting like a retard, not a retard, like an idiot, sorry. But he was acting like an arse and he was putting up filters and, you know, messing around. And then suddenly he's drinking and suddenly he's doing a madness, right? Right? It's not a coincidence, the unprofessionalism. And then we speak about Jody as our assistant manager doing these things every now and then, which has been a while, so fair play to him, I guess. But this is unprofessional. Even if, do you know what I mean? You don't have to like that because you know it's good. Even if it's harmless and you're believing in the message and whatever, you yourself know that people are gonna. You're not stupid, bro. You know,
bro, do you think Ziyech is not seeing that?
People are gonna take it out of context. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to just doing things that are just unnecessary. And I get he is human. But you just don't see Lampard on socials doing a madness like this. There needs to be a level of professionalism from the assistant manager. He is literally second in command. This is the equivalent of Mike Pence doing a madness on Twitter with Trump. It's a madness.
Exactly that.
It is. Do you think Ziyech is not seeing that? Do you think, Werner is not seeing that? Do you think Havertz is not seeing? They're all in social media seeing that. And they would have seen that Jody... And they would have seen Jody Morris like that and would have been all over their timeline in Instagram or whatever, wherever it is. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if we lose against Luton. I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
I'm not even surprised. People are saying on Twitter
that would be nuts.
I'm not surprised. Jody is literally the representation of a Chelsea man. If we're going by Rory Jennings' famous quotes from a couple years ago, Jody Morris is the depiction of a Chelsea man. And let's be real, I'm not surprised Mandem are backing it. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not. He just Jody Morris relates and just there's so much attachment, like in terms of he is just everything that you expect from a Chelsea man. He's just got that look about him. Do you know what I mean? How could you not back him? How could you not? Longevity wise, everything. Like he is literally the depiction of a Chelsea man. So really, anything could run. Anything.
No, absolutely. And I think, I don't know, man. Overall, I feel like Jody Morris has been a bit of a bad influence at times for Frank Lampard. Like the thing that he did with Jose last season, I still remember. Younes got blocked off the back of that. Jody Morris blocked Younes. Like, are you having a laugh? Honestly, I mean,
All I did was say, you really shouldn't be doing this. It is our greatest ever manager. You have to show that level of respect. Boom, blocked.
And that just shows the kind of, caliber that his intellectuality. He's like, he's there for the banter and whatnot. He's not really a humble. I feel like he's not really a humble, person. And when you go around liking these sort of comments, I'm telling you, why would the players play? Honestly, boys, if you guys were players and you're on social media and you're seeing that and you're seeing your assistant manager liking that kind of stuff, how would you feel?
There's two reactions. There's only two reactions you can get from that. There's one which I think maybe the old guard would do. They'd look at it and go, okay, we need to fix up. We need to add a bit more. But then in the modern game today, you're going to get players that look at that and go, who the hell does he think he is? You know?
Exactly.
And that's the risk. I'm not saying it's right, wrong. I'm saying that's the risk that you're putting to yourself. You just don't put fuel on the fire. Just don't entertain it. Don't do something you don't need to do. It's a very old school way of thinking that maybe something like this will get a reaction. Not in 2021. It's not how it works. It's not how it works.
Yeah, it's for me, it's just very unprofessional and unnecessary. And I said the same thing last time.
Unnecessary.
And people will want to defend it, and they'll say it's just bounce. Don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
You do you, bro. But like I said, I just expect better. I just expect better. Do you know what I mean? I don't see. I haven't. Do you know what I mean? I expected better from Conte when he texted Diego Costa and lost us God knows how many millions on a sale. I expected better. I just expect better. And I just prefer that the coaching team, the actual coaching team of players who are all very young and on social media. We speak about fans and their responsibility on social media. Who are you gonna respond to more? Jody Morris messing about on socials with Jose Mourinho and liking photos with messages maybe demanding your commitment, or little old freaking, you know what I mean, pacey Pulisic who's got something bad to say on a Wednesday.
But who's having a laugh?
Who are you taking more seriously? Seriously, because it can't be one rule for one and one rule for the others. So who are you taking more seriously? I know.
Honestly, he did what he did with Jose Mourinho, and who's having a laugh now? Jose or him? Jose knows that he's got he's got a little bit longer to go, and he now knows that Frank's probably in very limited time, and Jody will go with Frank as well. Once the new manager comes in, all of these people will get thrown out. So
I saw Brian, who I follow, shout out Brian, say that next manager coming in should be Jody Morris. Like, bro, with all due respect,
what would be the difference? What would be the difference between him and Frank Lampard?
I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. I cannot think of anything worse. Seriously, I can't. Like, that is exactly the opposite of what I would want to see next. Yeah. Seriously, if that was actually what was going to happen next, I'd actually rather just leave it with Lampard. Like, I respect Jody as a coach. He's done great things with the academy and whatnot, but he also would need to go and learn his trade in managerial positions in first teams before he ever stepped on Chelsea. And the same goes with John Terry and all these people. It's just so much rush, and I understand the transition is smoother because it's literally but for me, the transition is too smooth. I don't expect a change in results because Jody's there right now. So what's the difference in pushing him up a level? I don't really get it. The last thing I want to see is Jody managing this team. I'm not really. Jody reminds me of maybe a Roy Keane. Like, I know he knows the game. I know he's got his coaching done, and I know Jody's 10 times better coach than Roy Keane anyway. But I just feel like they have these moments of madness in them, and not in a good way. Like, you know, managers that can turn and do Silas Ferguson's in the hairdryer and whatnot, but it works. I don't feel like Jody's is a good thing. Like, I feel like when he goes batshit crazy, it's not good, and it might put players off. Like, I think it. Do you know what I mean? Just a deep feeling. It's just something that I just don't think would go well. I mean, we have a bit more time because Rance just texted me that he's delayed. I mean, what would you guys want to see against Luton, just specifically? Because we had the Morecambe game and we saw signs and then nothing happened. So what about Luton now, Younes?
I mean, at this point, it's even difficult. I mean, Luton, you look at that fixture and surely we win it. Even with no manager, we win that game. Surely. You know, no disrespect to Luton. Where are Luton, by the way? They're in the Championship or League One?
Championship mid-table.
The Championship mid-table. So, yeah, realistically, you look at that game and I expect the same sort of performance or trajectory that we had against Morecambe. Maybe a little bit tougher because they are a Championship side and not a League One side. But
yeah,
after that is where it gets serious. You know, the Luton game, I'm expecting, I'd say, some rotation. Just to, if you're going to try and salvage something, you want players to be fit in the Premier League. So I'm expecting probably heavy rotation for the Luton game. That way it doesn't jeopardize having your top players ready for the Wolves game. But yeah, I'm expecting a win against Luton, and hopefully a comfortable win. If we see anything less than, I'd say, if we see anything less than a 2-0 win against Luton, just call it now. Just call it now. You know, I truly think we're delaying the inevitable. I think it's already, the cause is lost. I think it's at a point now, again, where there are some people that are asking for a bit of longevity, for a chance to be given. But as you've mentioned, you know, we want to see at least that little bit of progress. You know, you don't want things going back.
That's what those 2 weeks were about.
That is what they were about. And, you know, even if it goes down, it's a little dip. You expect things to pick up. This is poor. This is 5 losses in 8, you know, where things are not getting better. We can't lower our standards, because this is what's happening now. People are asking for a bit of longevity. You only get longevity in this day and age, in the modern era, if you're getting results. It's as simple as that. Or you're making progress. You know, people are going to compare it to Liverpool and Klopp and finishing 8th and all of that. Cool. But that's where there was progress. He went with a Liverpool.
Always.
Got there.
Every season.
By the way, that Liverpool team that he took was way shitter than ours, bro.
Big time. But at least in that first season he was given, 8th. Cool. And then progress. You saw it get better and better and better and better. 4th, up. Title, well, 2nd title winners, boom, there you are. He's won the title. With Lampard and what we're seeing, it's all just gone backwards. And it's not even a case of being tactical. It's a case of body language, the basics. Are the players running? Are they trying? Like, there's nothing now. So,
you know what, it almost feels like he's doing up what should have been done last season, this season.
Yeah.
Like players down in tools, no surprise, because last season's playing squad, I didn't like. Us being in this position, not really too much surprise, although it would have still been very poor, but not too much surprise first season. It feels like it's going the other way, where everything that's happened this season, you should have been doing that last season, if anything, and then last season, this season. It's the wrong way around. Do you know what I mean? It's very it's wrecking my brain.
Exactly. And this is why we're trying to find some sort of sign as to is it going to change? Is it going to get better? And as I said, I expect to win against Luton. I expect to win. But the important one to keep the eyes on is the Wolves game and beyond. So, for Luton, we'll see. Heavy rotation, I think. We'll get a win. If we don't, oh my goodness. But I'm expecting a win. And the Wolves game and Burnley is where, you know, we look to see if anything's really changed. I'm not expecting it, though.
Yeah. Someone's saying here, thank you for the super chat. How is Lampard not at fault? He's got 7 players and never integrated them. They threw them together. It didn't work and now wants more time. Like I said, he has to take responsibility for that playing squad, Miz. Do you know what I mean? Like when you bring in that many players, it's difficult to put them into a team together, but you have to have a plan for them. And I'm sure he does have a plan for them, but then you have to be able to implement it and get results. And like I said, I'm not asking for even a title challenge at this point, even though Man United are challenging for the title, which sickens me because they were finished level on points with us last season. And
they're 11 ahead now.
Now they're ahead by 11 points, is it? 9? I don't even know.
11
points. So, yeah, that's mad. But like I said, you've got to be able to manage that team a bit better and maybe use last season's knowledge more to your advantage. I feel like a lot of last season's knowledge that he would have gained has gone out the window in terms of Pulisic playing on the left wing. Hudson-Odoi, you know, you've used him before. Giroud, Tammy, Mount, most of that midfield, you know, you have a lot of players that are still from last season that you could, you know, that you can lean on in terms of knowledge and know-how in terms of what you've done previously to get things working.
Just on this, Matisse, just on that super chat, us as a fan base, when the summer window sort of kicked in, you know, we said it that this rebuild with Frank will take a few windows, right? We said maybe we get 2 or 3 players this window, then another 2 more next window, maybe 1 more. Like it might be a collection of 3 windows. Frank got everything all in 1 window, and I think it's time. Maybe I know it's done, but now we're sort of hindsight. But I think maybe that might have been a bit detrimental for him to get all of these players in one go. That it was too much. It was too many big players coming in and too many personalities to handle in the likes of Werner, Ziyech, Kai Havertz, Thiago Silva, and Mendy and whoever else. Like, I feel like had he just got maybe a Ziyech and a Mendy and go, we'll look into other players in the next window, perhaps he would have been able to keep some of his old players and just continue on with the philosophy that he had last season. I feel like he was thrown in and given all these players almost as if go start all over again, and this time he just didn't know. Do you know what I mean?
These were his players, though, weren't they? Like prior with other managers, we'd look at the situation and the board would get players and they would force the manager to work with them. That was our problem prior to with other managers, not backing the manager, the board getting the targets rather than the manager. This was Lampard, for once, the manager being completely backed with so many millions. Lampard, you go and choose who you want to get and bring them. And we done that. He got his targets. So as a manager, you have a plan. I'm hoping Lampard would have looked at the last season, what he needs to make things better, look at the attributes that he needs to make the team better, identify targets and go, I need this player for this, I need this player for that, and I need this player for that. Please go and get these players.
Honestly, Younes, I don't think he did that. I honestly think he did not.
If he didn't do that, then flipping hell, we're lost course.
You know why, Younes? You know why I say this? Is how is he then using Kai Havertz and Timo Werner? If he had a plan, he's absolutely destroyed these two players. Do you know what I mean? To the sense where our board is looking to get a Bundesliga manager just to get the best out of these players. I feel like it did not play through his head as to how he was going to play Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, because if he did, Timo was not going to play in the left wing. Pulisic playing in the right wing. Callum not starting.
He really did play career mode then. Like legit.
He must have.
Legit just went, I want Werner. Get Werner. Yeah, I think that's it.
You know what, Younes and Matisse as well.
Terrible. That's terrible.
I feel like he saw these players, and obviously with the pandemic, they're available. No other clubs can get them. He just said, go and get them. Just get them, secure them before any other clubs get them, right? Because Kai Havertz was rumored to Real Madrid. He would have gone to Real Madrid 100%. So anyway, they got all these players, and he just thought that maybe with my personality being Frank Lampard and the stature that I have in this club, that it's just going to all fall into place. I'm Frank Lampard. I'm just going to talk to Havertz, and it's just going to fall into place. I'm just going to talk to Timo Werner, and it's going to fall into place. It does not work that way. Frank Lampard, the player, is not the Frank Lampard, the manager, just because he says something and it's just going to materialize into some sort of magical show. It doesn't work like that. I honestly feel, I don't know what you boys think. I honestly think that he did not think this through completely with all these different transfers. Because how much would a Barkley would have helped this season? You look at the attacking aids. How much would a Barkley would have helped? Barkley goes to Aston Villa, starts doing well. Ampadu, how much would have he helped as a DM, perhaps? You have all these problems in DM. How much? So you tell me, who's thought about all of this stuff? Like, who's thought about the loans? Ruben Loftus-Cheek has now gone to Fulham and he's doing somewhat decently in the last few weeks. So,
this segues beautifully to this super chat, which is what are your guys' thoughts on how bloated our squad was potentially affecting the team morale? I just think, the team was so big in the summer that he had to maybe loan out players that he potentially didn't even want to loan out. We speak about Ampadu there and how he would have been a potential DM option if Kante ever needed a rest, which I always stand by. I think he would have been. And people will say, well, he's doing shit at Sheffield United. Well, Harry Kane did shit at Millwall. If you believe that the player has the fundamental quality to succeed, which I do, and I've always said that with Ampadu, and for me, he just needs the right break and the right surroundings to do well. Then you're going to believe that they'll do well at Chelsea, in my opinion. So again, I just think he had to potentially get rid of players that potentially could have stayed here, but because we couldn't offload Jorginho, potentially because we couldn't offload this player, that player, Alonso's still here, Rudiger, we tried to get rid of, couldn't. So many players that they tried to
now he's starting.
Yeah, now he's starting. So many players that they tried to get rid of that they failed to, and now it's like, well, it's just too many things. There's too many moving pieces where it's just like, well, he wasn't meant to be here. He is here. And now I need to rely on him to keep me in the job. It's very backwards in a sense. Do you see what I'm saying? I Test Mansion thinks top four is gone already. I personally can't believe that because It's January, and that mentality for me, I can't do it. Like, there's no way top 4 is already gone in mid-January. I just can't. I'm not going to accept that, because from the moment I accept that, then that means the season's done. And he also said a physical DM is needed, balance for every team, and I completely agree with that, and I think the boys do as well. But like I said, not every team has everything that they want at every given moment, and even with injuries and suspensions, every team that goes out onto the pitch is not always the perfect, strongest possible team that you could ever ask for, fitness-wise, you know, playing profile-wise. So you have to be able to adapt. I'm going to keep going through some questions. I mean, we're going to wrap up soon as well, because it's been a long-ass stream. We've covered a lot of points. Final thoughts, really, Younes, on just everything that's going on at the moment, really.
Final thoughts. As I've said, I think we're delaying the inevitable. I'm worried that the schedule that's coming up is where it's all really going to hit the fan. You know, whereas now we have Luton, Wolves, and then Burnley, where it's not so tough on us if you're looking in terms of levels, because after that we have to play Tottenham, we have to play Atletico Madrid, we have to play Man United, and we have to play Liverpool. It's all so close to each other. I know there's one other window. I'm not sure. I think it's between Tottenham and Sheffield United, where I think we have a good week or something. That's the only other opportunity, and I think maybe the club could be looking at that for the change. But again, I think we're delaying the inevitable. I think now would be a decent time, albeit it's difficult for the club to make a decision if it's an interim or permanent that they're going to bring in. But it would be good for a manager to come in, familiarise himself, get to know the players that he's working with, having to play against a Luton, Wolves, and a Burnley, and then go into the big games of Tottenham, Atletico, Man United, Liverpool, instead of having to make the change then. Because if we do that, if we're playing the way we did against Leicester, I said this on my video yesterday, the game against Atletico and Liverpool, for example, it might be against YouTube's terms and conditions to upload, because it might just be a complete battering, a complete abuse. So, yeah, I think we're delaying the inevitable. I hope, don't get me wrong, I hope all of a sudden we can turn a switch on and things get better, but we got to be realistic. Everything we're seeing is what's happened in the past. We've been through this script before. It only ends one way, and I think it's going to end that way again.
Miz, your final thoughts, bro. I can't really agree with anything. I can't agree more with what Younes is saying. I think as much as I would love for him to be able to turn it around, it's not just the form, it's the manner of the defeats, and it's also weighing everything up in terms of experience is a key problem here. Yeah. What do you think, Miz?
Yeah, man, we've already touched on, you know, all the stuff that's happening, you know, as you guys said, the manner of defeats and whatnot, but it's also the stuff that's outside of the football field now. You know, you look at Frank, the way he's talking in press conferences. You look at the crazy madness that Jody Morris is going around in social media and doing it. So you look at our players as well. They're not so chirpy in social media all of a sudden, whereas when we were going through that 17-match unbeaten streak, it was all chirpy, this, that, backing each other, like, you know, liking each other's posts, all sort of quietened down a little bit. You know, and then in the middle of all of it, Tomori is a player that's leaving for loan. I'm pretty sure Tomori was very close to most of these youngsters around Cobham and also in Stamford Bridge. So all of this, you know, it's not looking good. I mean, look, Luton, Wolves, I don't know. I'm a bit, even though Younes said that it's a winnable game, yes, it is. I'm worried because they got us. Like,
they beat us already.
Yeah, they beat us, so they know how to handle us. So for me, honestly, this Luton game, it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't even know what to expect. Like, I don't have the only expectation I have is just win, because that's a competition that we should be winning. You know, we've got the squad to do that. So it's really the Wolves, and as you guys have already covered that, there's too many things to fix. You're telling me all of a sudden we are going to play champagne style of football come against Wolves. We are going to be building up beautifully, you know. Kovacic drops deep, you know, Kante drops deep, and it's triangles. And then they find the opening to Ziyech. Ziyech lofts the ball over for Bueno. That ain't happening. It's that's a whole season's worth of practice. So for us to think it's all going to change that way, all I hope, honestly, guys, is that we get that victory against Luton. We somehow get a victory against Wolves. We somehow then get a victory against Burnley, and maybe some of the players that are somewhat feeling that they don't believe in Frank could hopefully turn around and start thinking, let's give him another chance. Maybe we run that extra mile. Maybe we put that extra tackle in for him, and perhaps come that Spurs game, being a London derby, like they really wake up to it. So look, it's all hopes. I'm all hoping. I'm just plucking things out from the air. So that's where we are.
Well, people, like I said, it's been a great stream. We're going to wrap up now. I've got obviously Rance's stream starting in 10 minutes. It's starting a bit late, so that's why you guys are confused as to why I've been able to prolong it. Matisse, when can we do a stream together? To be honest, after the absolute madness that went down last time I had a stream with someone I didn't completely vet, I'm gonna have to tell you that it's gonna be a risky one. I need to, if you've got any sort of, if you want to come on the stream and I don't actually know you personally, then it would help if you was on a podcast or you had some clips and you'd done some speaking before on YouTube, etc. Because with these live streams, like I say, I'm not saying I don't trust you, but I can't control what you say live on the stream, and that's a big risk. You know what I mean? We're on my channel here, so I need to take responsibility for what happens on my channel and what is said on my channel. So I need to know who you are somewhat, So yeah, people, we're gonna wrap up. I think we don't even have to do the where can we find you, because we've managed to get ourselves some lovely graphics here where it's very damn well clear. People, you better know where to subscribe, because as you can see, the YouTube names are under. We've got Younes Talks Football. So make sure you subscribe to him. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure you already are, as I always say every week. And this as well, the other side of the coin, very clear, people. Go and subscribe. How many people is it? 700. So I don't know how many are already subscribed, but I want to see at least a couple hundred go up, surely, or at least 100. So go over there and subscribe. Like I said, we back next Thursday at 11, 11:15.
The day after the Wolves game. So
yeah, exactly. The day after the Wolves game. So is it on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
Oh Lord Jesus. Well, we're gonna have a great fun show next week, people, because that result is gonna very much dependent on what snack I'm eating. People, it's been an absolute blast. I will see you on Rance's channel probably in about 5 minutes time. And until then, keep it humble, keep it good, keep the faith. Well, I'm not even saying that. Just enjoy your life, because I'm struggling.
See ya, guys.
See you later, people.
See ya.